Hi, Mark Washburn here from PondAlgaeSolutions.com, and this week I want to talk a little bit about frozen fish. Actually, I want to help you avoid frozen fish. And so, for those of you who live in very cold climates, for those of you who have very small or shallow ponds, let's say less than 24 inches deep, you might want to consider moving your fish indoors for the winter. Some folks decide to do that anyway, just for the fun of it, just to keep their fish safe and happy. And so for those of you, we've got a few simple tips that you might consider that could make the job easier. Now, in talking to friends of ours who do this on an annual basis, it's amazing the variety of containers that people use for this. Some who have very small fish actually take watertight planters. They might use tubs, kiddie pools. I've seen folks use aquariums. We've also had folks who have taken preformed pond liners with some structural support around it, whether it be wood structures or rocks built up around it to keep the thing level. People have used preformed liners to work very well. And then we've also had people produce these very elaborate ponds indoors using 2x4s, a 2x4 frame, and they would put plywood inside that and maybe put paneling, decorative paneling on the outside to make it look nice. Take a rubber EPDM liner and line the inner side of this thing and then fill it with water and you're good to go. And those can look terrific. Key thing is filtration. You want to have good filtration, good circulation in this type of a pond so that your water quality stays good. You might have a biofilter, that was fine. You might have a mechanical filter, that's fine. And you got to have a pump that's going to circulate the water. And it could be internal or it could be external, whatever you prefer. It bears researching your own particular situation to try to find a system that is going to maintain the water quality for you throughout the winter months. But that's critical to do that. You may even want to add a small aerator as well to help keep the water oxygenated. That can help too. You can continue to use bacteria supplementation in an indoor pond as well to keep nutrient loads down, to keep ammonia down. I've talked about this before. I think it's very, very wise to maintain checks, probably weekly checks on ammonia levels using test strips or other methods to make sure that your water quality stays good, because in a contained system that can be an issue. Now, in transferring fish from outside to inside, I think it's a good rule of thumb to maintain, and that is that you want to make the transition as stress-free as possible. You want to minimize the transitional elements, meaning if it's already very cold where you are, you want to try to, not transfer the fish from a very cold environment into a very warm environment all at once. That's a shocker for them. And pH is also an issue and all those things. So what I like to do is I like to take a lot of the pond water out of the pond itself and put it in, assuming it's relatively clean, I might take the pond water and put it in my inside pond, or at least a part of that water transfer will be made, and then the rest can be filled up from whatever source you have. Now, if you're using tap water, you want to make sure that the chlorine dissipates first and get rid of that, and then you should be good to go after about 24 to 48 hours. So that's very helpful. I like to keep fish in a little warmer environment, certainly above 55 degrees and not near that temperature threshold where they will or won't eat. If you keep them in a warmer environment, you will probably feed them through the winter, obviously, not as frequently as you might in the summer, but you'll want to feed them. And so, that again is a good reason to keep an eye on nutrient loads and on ammonia levels in the water. Also, if you have koi, make sure that the container that you put them in, if it's a relatively shallow container, you're going to need to put a cover over it or netting or something to keep them from coming out, because koi are known to jump. And if your water basin has, let's say, about 6 inches from the top of the water line to the actual edge of the structure, you should be okay, but you want to consider that koi will jump from time to time, and you don't want to find them on the concrete the next morning, because they won't last very long that way. So keep in mind that they will need some containment. Beyond that, I guess because there's so many variables and because there's so many options with regards to keeping fish indoors, what I'd like to ask our viewers is that if you have successfully moved your fish indoors in the past and you have some tips or suggestions or advice that you'd like to share, go down to the bottom of this page, and there's a comment box down there. And I'd love for you to share your ideas and your tips about how you do this, or some input about how you do this, because folks that are just getting into ponding, they may be facing their first winter with their fish indoors. They obviously have a lot of questions, and so together we can help them tremendously and share a lot of great advice that I hope will help make it easier for people to transition their fish from outside to inside, and to do it safely and keep them healthy all winter long until the next spring comes. So if you'd be willing to do that, I'd much appreciate it. If you have any other questions, I know we can't cover everything in these short videos, but if you have other questions, you can contact us through pondalgasolutions.com, and we're happy to help in any way that we can. We hope this video will help you keep your fish healthy and happy all winter long. We'll see you again real soon. Take care.